Oh, the first thought is a lot busier than I thought it was. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. I didn't realize some of the periphery and the stuff even before we get on the ice, some of the things that needs to still change, has changed, we think, for the better, still needs to be changed. Yeah, it was, I don't have the word for you, but it's been very busy, but also very, I think a lot of people think it's kind of a lost season because we're going to end in a couple of weeks. But there's been some really good things that's happened here too, as far as the development and some of the other things that have gone along in our hallway down in our room.
And I go back to when you were hired last June, and you talked about with this team, you wanted them to play like this city, and you wanted them to play hard. You said that last June, and my gosh, you go in this locker room right now, and that's all these players talk about is that's this team's identity, is playing hard.
Yeah, and I think they've done it. We really haven't had many meetings about that, about not playing hard. We've had some clunkers along the way here, not a whole bunch, but I really respect our guys and really like being around them because they've put the time in. Haven't got the results that we wanted. I think we all knew going in that it was going to be a process. But damn, they've played hard, and they still play hard, and we've been basically out for the past couple of weeks, and them knowing that. They've been great pros, have a great attitude, and that's one thing we can say, we played hard this year.
But how did you implement that? Did it just come? Because it just seemed to be such a unified message this whole season.
Yeah, you know what, I think it started when we started talking about camp, and I asked for the guys to come in early so they can get together. They knew what the camp was going to be like. It's a grueling camp. A lot is asked of them. And I wanted them to start training for it together. And they all came in early, all of them showed up. And I think they started that type of camaraderie then. We're guidance counselors as coaches. We're just trying to guide them down the road. They're the ones that have to do it. So I think they push one another. We don't have a real take charge guy in the room. That's why we haven't named a captain right now. We don't see one right now. But I think they mesh together, and if a guy wasn't pulling his weight as far as effort, there's conversations. And we've been in there with it and watched it, and it's fun watching it develop. And hopefully it continues to grow.
And you mentioned how busy you were this past year. And when you were hired, you talked about wanting to dive back into the fire and you wanted to get back into this, but you knew it'd be challenging. You said that. Was it as challenging as you thought?
Yeah, it has. It has been. It's been, the losing streaks. I forget what we had, and that's hard for everybody. It's for you guys, for the fans, for the players, for everybody. But I think you grow that way. I think that we knew going into the season there was going to be some bumps in the road. Ironed them out, then we fall off a cliff. Iron them out a little more and still struggle. So that's been challenging, but I think it's something we have to go through to eventually get where we want to go. And we're going to go through more of that. I'll tell you that. We're going to go through more of it next year. And if we're going to do it the right way, you have to just eat that. You have to know you're going to be involved in that and try to handle yourself the best way possible when things aren't going well.
You've been so honest about that, pumping the brakes to everybody that this is going to take some time.
It is.
You have such a big picture view. Do you at least feel like you're closer to where you want to be a year later?
Yeah, I do. And that's what you hang your hat on. Just recently, just the past couple of weeks, we got a young kid come up and play in Tyson Forster, and come up and play, and he can play. And Samula comes up and plays 3 games, and he's going to be able to play. We've got to iron out some things, but he's going to be able to play. Lappy and those guys, with some other guys down there, they feel they're going to be able to take the next step. That's exciting, going with some of the growth of some of our young guys that we've had here all year long. And you just got to keep your eye on the ball when you're having those tough days, that you're supposed to go through this. And to get to the other end, make sure you handle those tough days the proper way. And then when it starts getting better, don't skip a beat. Don't say, okay, now we're there, let's do this, where we're not ready to do that. And I think that's going to be That's going to be, we're going to have to watch that the next couple of years with our team, is not to jump too quickly. Let's just get our foundation straightened out and just build the blocks. And when it's going really well, don't forget, we still have to keep on building. And I'm going to be interested to see how that all works as the management group and coaches go through that.
Mm-hmm. And those challenges you mentioned when you were hired, you felt as though the locker room was a little splintered. They were going through some stuff. And you talked about one of your main goals was to heal that a little bit. Do you feel like you made progress?
Yeah, I do. I think we've made tremendous progress. I think, and again, it's the only way I know how to say it, I think we're going to have to subtract out of the room. And some good people are probably going to have to go, because when you're going through this process, you can't keep all the same people. Contracts, ages, play, all that comes into, you need to be honest about that. And some good people will go, but that's when you keep on building that room. And I think we've made strides. I don't think it's anywhere near it should be. If we're going to be competitive, if you're talking playoffs, we got a ways to go there. So there's going to have to be some different blood coming in here.
And it's no secret your coaching style is to push players and get the most out of them. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with Owen Tippett, and he admitted you were hard on him at the beginning of the season, but he said how thankful he was for it because, my gosh, look at his play of late. How did the whole team respond to that push style?
Yeah. There is everybody takes it differently, right? And is it me? I think sometimes people feel when you're pushing and you're called a hard coach. I like to call it just I'm an honest coach. I think players. I don't want to let a player go home at night not knowing where he stands. And that could be really good, and it may not be some things he wants to hear, but at least he knows where he stands. That's my whole philosophy, and it's important, but it's not done one-on-one like you and I are doing. It's done in an open platform, in a locker room, in front of everybody. Because I think we're a family in there. We're together, and I think we need to address everything right in that locker room. Instead of me running around 10 different ways from Sunday, going to each player, everybody's going to know where they're going to stand right there. And when I'm coaching you, and maybe I'm not happy with you, as I'm coaching you, I'm coaching everybody else too. And they know how it's going to be. I think that's important. And all it is being honest. And I think they deserve that. And quite honestly, it's the most important part of my job.
Well, and it seems like for players especially to have that style, you kind of have to leave your ego at the door.
Yeah, you do. But don't take it. If you think you have something you need to say to me and you don't agree, make sure you stand up and tell me. That's when the interaction happens and the honesty is there from both parties, and that's how you get through this. And we've had some major conflict down there, but that isn't a bad thing, because the conflict happens when there's honesty from both people. So I'm on you, and you don't like it. You don't say anything to me, but you want to say it to your buddy over there after the meeting's over or after the whole session's over. Why? Say it to me. I'm a big boy, and I've had players come at me hard, and I need to be ready for that also. But that's how you build a locker room as far as I'm concerned. And everybody gets so amped up out here when a player loses some ice time or he's not happy about something. I don't think players need to be happy all year long. If everybody's happy in that room, I'm not doing my job. I'm not asking for enough. And I think we've got to just, you let it work through. And I think it's the most interesting part about coaching is that type of conversation. I give Joel a lot of credit in where he came back really quickly from that operation. I think there's been three of those operations that's been done. That's a scary place too. That's your neck, and I give him a lot of credit. I do think it's hurt him as far as his season. I think he's beginning, as you see the season go on, and Joe and I we've had a rocky road through all this here, but we've been honest with one another through the whole way. He's been with me, I've been with him. As we start getting towards the end, it's encouraging to see his play pick up. Maybe he just needed that time. The most of the season is part of his training camp. He gets a clean slate for me next year because I think he came back so quickly. I'm not making a judgment on Joel, good or bad right now, because I want him to have a solid summer, I think he needs to be here under our eyes a little bit in some of our training and get ready for a camp. I said it right from the get-go. He's a very important guy for us because he helps me solidify lines because I can move him up and down the line at both wings. He's played even a little center. He's a pretty important guy for us. And so I think we have kind of butted heads and done it this, that way, sideways, over there. But I think we're coming together here at probably the most important time at the end of the year, so at least he can feel good about himself during the summer.
Right, and this roster, dare I say, when you look at net, it seems like that situation is somewhat solidified. Do you feel like that's at least a position you can count on?
Yeah, we've got Carter's played very well this year. He's probably been our best player. I like his consistency, how he handles himself. Urs has come on. I think a little unexpectedly how quickly he's come on. It started with that Carolina game, his first game. I yank him, Carter gets hurt, he goes back in and kind of takes off from there. Really exciting about how he's gone about it.
And I know you're not a what-if type of guy, but you look at these two pieces that the Flyers didn't have this season with Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson. Do you catch yourself thinking, what could this team look like if they come back?
Yeah. I've written a lineup up already where what I think is with our subtractions and with them coming back, and look at it. And I think Ristolainen has improved. Everybody's always all over him out here. They don't like him. They don't like his contract. He's improved. One of our more improved players. I think Sandy's going to get better. I look at our back end and I look at I piece in probably 7 or 8 forwards. You know, there's something to work with there. I like the kid, Desi, coming up from the minors, played a few games here. We'll let it all work out in camp, but having those two guys, and I think it's still an if for me with Coots, because he hasn't played in 2 years, but he's worked, and he seems like he's ready to go. Remember, we lost TK too here. We fell off the map when we lost TK. And after the break, there's some good things going on there, but you're not getting me. We have a ways to go. We have to go through the process, and people can be upset about it. I really don't care. I think this is the proper way to do it, so we're not spinning our wheels and getting stuck in the mud. Right,
and Danny Briere, interim GM for the Flyers right now, but you've worked with him in some capacity this whole year.
Yes.
What have you seen from him?
Yeah, one of the brightest hockey minds. Danny seems to be unassuming, such a good man, very polite, quiet kind of. He has convictions though. He's a good, really good, solid hockey guy, and I think has strong thoughts about what we have to do here. And I will say in this point here, I think we lost a good man too in Chuck. Part of the game, right? Everybody's going to get fired, and but we lost a good hockey man there too in Chuck. But he understands it too. When he was like, he totally understood. And for me to be able to work with Danny, and I think we're on the same page as far as the process. Really looking forward to it.
A couple more for you. Going back to June again, that big month when you were hired, you said Philadelphia attracted me to Philadelphia, and you've now been here a year. What's it just been like being in the city?
I love it. My wife and I haven't had many times to explore the city.
I imagine.
haven't been to any restaurants in there, which I'm dying to do in the off season. It's here and it's going to the rink and going home. But listen, if they're not happy with you, they let you know. If they like what's going on, they let you know. And that's kind of how I feel about a locker room. I'm going to let you know. So bring it on. One way or another, you need to be honest with us. We're hoping that we can get this turned around to where, remember, I used to come in there as a visiting team, and when the team was really good and loved coming to this building because of just the atmosphere. That's the kind of the goal, is to get everybody back involved, back into this building, similar to baseball and football across the street. Have this join in also to get that type of intensity. And, complain, be mad, send mail, whatever you want to do, but we are gonna work this process the proper way. No matter if you like it or not, we're gonna try to do it the right way, because the end goal is to try to get it back to Philly.